Welcome everyone. In this video, we are going to be diving into my ultimate tier list for the Ultra League. Now, I know you guys like these tier list videos, so with the Ultra League dropping yesterday at the time of recording this video, I thought why not do one for the Ultra League? And you guys can really get my unique perspective on where I believe most of the Pokemon in the Ultra League meta place on the various tiers on my tier list. So let's do a brief explanation of the tiers. I know a lot of you are very much familiar with tier list videos, but we'll just dive into it for those that are new to the tier list videos. So at the very top, we've got the God tier. These are the best of the best in the Ultra League, the Pokemon that just stand apart from all of the rest and are just amazing to use in the Ultra League. Then right below that, we've got the A tier, Pokemon that are still very much good and relevant and amazing, just not quite God tier, and then so on and so forth with the B and C tier. And then we've got some sub-tiers here. We've got anti-meta Pokemon that have a unique typing or move pool that really lends itself to countering the hardcore meta of the Ultra League. Then we've got the underrated Pokemon that you might not have thought about using that are actually very good to use in the Ultra League. And then we've got the Spice. The Spice is nice, especially in Season 11 of Pokemon Go Battle League with the interlude season. This is going to be the Spice. So, I always have fun making these. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. And up first, we've got Abomasnow. Abomasnow is a very strong B tier grass/ice type. The Weather Ball nerf did hurt it a little bit, but it does still have that grass typing, which can do very well up against the very strong water types in the Ultra League. And now we've got Aggron. Aggron is Spice for sure. Very solid SmackDown user, can definitely do some things up against the Flyers, especially Talonflame. It's just really held back because all it has is nuke moves. It does not have a bait move. Aggron is Spice for sure. And we've got Altaria. Altaria is a solid B tier Pokemon in the Ultra League. It maxes out right around 2100, but that does not affect it very much. It still has quite a bit of bulk, has a decent stat product, even at 2100 CP, which is its max. Can definitely do some things up against opposing dragons, and of course the fighters and the meta. Altaria, solid B tier in the Ultra League. And we've got Ampharos. Ampharos is spicy for sure. Electric types are not very strong in the Ultra League, Ampharos being one of them. It can do some things, but there are a lot of strong ground types that hard wall Ampharos. Dragon types are all over the place. Ampharos is pretty spicy for the open Ultra League. And we've got Articuno. Articuno is a very solid B tier Pokemon at this point. Used to be A tier/God tier back in the early days of Ultra League. A lot of people have forgotten about Articuno and how good it can be between Ice Shard as its fast move and Icy Wind. Articuno can definitely do some things, has some decent bulk, solid B tier for sure. And we've got Blastoise. Blastoise is a strong anti-meta Pokemon, one that you might not have thought about using. Blastoise as an XL is exceedingly bulky, and of course any Pokemon with a Community Day move is definitely going to be able to do some things no matter what league it's in. Blastoise is not an exception to that at all. Has some decent coverage with the potential of running Ice Beam, or you could run Skull Bash for coverage up against opposing water types as well. Solid anti-meta pick in Blastoise. And we've got Blaziken. Blaziken in the Open Ultra League is strong anti-meta. There are a lot of Charmers, a lot of Steel types, a lot of strong Dark types. Blaziken, although very squishy, can definitely shake up the Ultra League meta. And at this point, it's a solid, you could say it's Spice, but I think it's more of an anti-meta Pokemon with all the Steel and Dark types. And we've got Charizard. Charizard, although very good, it's C tier at this point, in my opinion. It was the premier fire flying type, but with Talonflame, being introduced to the meta a little while back. Charizard fell off a little bit. Prior to that, it was solid B tier, but there are better options. Charizard can still do some things, especially in the Open Ultra League. If you run Dragon Breath on it, it can do some things, but at this point, it's a solid C tier Pokemon at this point. And we've got Chestnut. Chestnut is spicy for sure, but there is no better Pokemon that can hard wall the ground types like Chestnut, especially Stunfisk or Steelix. Chestnut is the worst nightmare for Stunfisk, but it is very spicy. It is very limited in what it can do, but what it can do, it does very well, but very spicy at this point. And we've got Clefable. Clefable is a solid C tier charmer, and that is because it does not have access to a low energy cost charge move. Any charmer with a low energy cost charge move is going to be a good charmer. Unfortunately, Clefable only has nuke moves, but it is very bulky, which allows it to really withstand damage and really dig in with charms that have stab. Clefable is a C tier charmer in the Ultra League. And we've got Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus is an A tier ghost type in this meta. As an XL, it is very bulky. It does run Shadow Claw, which is one of the best fast moves in the entire game, which allows it to get to its nuke moves at a very fast rate, and it hits decently hard to really do some damage and stand out in the Ultra League. Cofagrigus, if you have the resources, is a solid A tier ghost type in the Ultra League. And we've got Cresselia, our first God tier entrant on the tier list. Cresselia is God tier for sure. Its bulk is on another level. Has amazing charge moves in the Legacy Grass Knot, and you can run Moonblast. You can also run Future Sight with Stab. Cresselia with Psycho Cut can get to those charge attacks very fast while being extremely bulky. Cresselia is God tier for sure. And we've got Crobat. Crobat is solid anti-meta. With all the fighters and charmers in the meta, Crobat can really counter some of the hardcore meta picks that you might run into in the Ultra League. With its poison flying typing, it is one of the strongest answers to any fighter that you may come across. And it does have access to Poison Fang, of course, which can debuff that defense and really rev up the damage output. Crobat's a solid anti-meta pick, and it has sneaky good bulk. Delphox is spicy. There are just too many strong ghost types in this meta for Delphox to do a whole lot. If you wanted to have some fun and spice it up, you could definitely have to build a solid team around it. But it does have an interesting typing with Psychic and Fire. It can do some things. It is very spicy. It's held back a little bit by that subtyping with all the ghost types in the meta. And we've got Defense Deoxys. Man, it's hard putting Defense Deoxys at B tier, but if I'm being honest, it is B tier at this point. Its redeeming quality, of course, is its immense bulk. It is extremely bulky, and it does run counter. But there are a lot of strong ghost types, a lot of solid dark types, which it can fight back against the dark types, but it is taking super effective damage as well. And there are some very bulky and strong dark types in this meta. But Defense Deoxys is an amazing anti-fighter. Can do well against the flyers. It does have access to Thunderbolt and Rock Slide, and it can do well against the ice types as well if you run Rock Slide. Defense Deoxys, strong B tier, almost A tier in my opinion. And we've got Dragalge, solid underrated. Dragalge is very underrated. Not sure why it's not as more widely utilized as I think it should be. As it does run Dragon Tail, it can do very well up against opposing dragon types. It's a solid anti-fighter in this meta, anti-charmer. Having Dragon Tail does hurt it a little bit up against the charmers, but you do have access to a potential Gunk Shot, which can do well. Has an excellent bait move with Aqua Tail. Can really threaten those fire types and those ground types. Dragalge, very underrated in my opinion. And we've got Dragonite. Dragonite's a C tier Pokemon in the Ultra League. It's really held back due to its lack of bulk. Loses a lot of bulk coming down to 2500 CP. It maxes out well beyond 3000 CP. Definitely more suited for the Master League. But it can definitely do some things. Has access to an excellent bait move with Dragon Claw. Of course, that Dragon Breath pressure cannot be denied, especially as a Shadow. Dragonite can do some things, but it is C tier at this point. There are better Dragon types to consider. And we've got Drapion. Drapion is A tier for sure, guys. The best, one or two, 1A or 2B, depending on where you would put it in terms of going alongside Alolan Muck as the second Poison Dark type in this meta that should be considered. But Drapion, as an XL, gains quite a bit of bulk. It is very spammy with Poison, Sting, and Crunch. And you've got excellent coverage on the Fairy types. Drapion is a solid A tier. Very good safe swap in the meta. And we've got Drifblim. Drifblim, very underrated. A solid Ghost type to go with. Having access to Icy Wind, you can bait shields while also lowering the attack on your opponent. And you also have access to an amazing nuke move with Stab and Shadow Ball. Drifblim as an XL has some good bulk to it, and is very much underrated in my opinion. And we've got Electivire. Electivire is spicy, guys. It can do some things for sure. Has a good bait move, with Ice Punch. Can really threaten those flyers. Can threaten the dragon types quite a bit. But it is very glassy, very spicy. Strong closer if you have the right team around it, but still very spicy nonetheless. And we've got Empoleon. Empoleon's, I'm going to say, is a solid B tier. With its steel typing, that's a very strong typing to have in this meta. With all the Charmers, all the poison types, Empoleon is very good. But there are a lot of strong fighters and pseudo-fighters in this meta, which you do really have to look out for. A lot of strong ground types as well. Empoleon can apply some heavy fast move pressure with that waterfall. And of course, it does have Hydro Cannon. Very solid B tier water/steel type. And we've got Escavalier, solid anti-meta in the Ultra League, guys. You just definitely have to have some coverage for Talonflame on your team. But if you do have that in order, Escavalier can prove to be a very strong anti-meta Pokemon because you can counter the dark types. You can counter poison types with Drill Run. You can dominate those steel types with Escavalier. And you can dominate those dark types, of course, again with Megahorn and counter. And with that steel typing, does very well up against the Charmers. So Escavalier, strong anti-meta Pokemon for the Ultra League. And we've got Escadrill. Escadrill, you might think is spice, but it's actually a strong anti-meta Pokemon. And that is because it can dominate the opposing steel types, because it is able to get to those hard-hitting drill runs at a very fast rate with Mudshot. And you also have some very good coverage up against those flyers like Talonflame. With its steel typing, provides for excellent coverage up against the Charmers and the poison types. Escadrill, strong yet squishy anti-meta pick in the Ultra League. Definitely got to save the shields for it. If you can do that, it's going to do very well. And Phalanx is very spicy, super spicy. They're just better fighting type options. I can't think of a circumstance where you would want to use Phalanx over any other fighter in the meta. It's just plain out, flat out spicy. And we've got Feraligatr. Feraligatr, very underrated Pokemon. Again, any Pokemon with a community move can definitely do some things. It has Hydro Cannon, of course. It can be a solid water type attacker in the Ultra League, but what sets it apart and makes it a little bit underrated is the fact that it has access to excellent coverage moves between Crunch or Ice Beam. That can allow Feraligatr to definitely do some things in the Open Ultra League, and it has very decent bulk as well, making it very underrated. not a Pokemon that a lot of people consider using. It's very underrated. And we've got Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn is a solid anti-meta Pokemon. As with Escavalier, you just have to have some coverage for Talonflame. If you can build a solid team around Ferrothorn, you've got a solid anti-meta Pokemon. With that steel typing, you've got excellent coverage on the Charmers, and poison type damage is still resisted because with that steel typing, you're double resisting it, and you can really dish out some super effective damage on the water types. Ferrothorn, solid anti-meta pick. And we've got Flygon. Flygon is spicy. Very solid spice pick. You can run Dragon Tail on it. You can also run Mudshot for the energy generation. And you can really punish the steel types with that Community Day move of Earth Power. And you've got a fantastic bait move with Dragon Claw. Flygon, pretty squishy. Got to have some coverage for the ice types as it is double weak to ice. But if you can do that, got a decent spice pick. Pretty good spice pick for sure with Flygon. And Gallade, I'm going to say in the Open Ultra League is pretty spicy. It's very limited in what it can do. It's good to counter water types and steel types, but that's about it, really. There are just too many dark types that are going to be double resisting your fast move pressure. Too many strong ghost types that are going to be dishing out super effective damage to Gallade. It's just very spicy to utilize in the Ultra League for sure. And we've got Galvantula. Galvantula is it's a C-tier Pokemon. It's very limited in what it can do. Unfortunately, being an electric types are very weak in this meta. Too many strong ground types, too many dragons, and it's a little squishy, but it can do some things against water types and dark types, of course. And of course, it can punish the flyers. But if you have a flyer like Talonflame, it's taken a lot of punishment right back from the fast move pressure. So it's a C-tier Pokemon, very limited in what it can do in the Open Ultra League. And we've got Garchomp. Garchomp is pure spice. I mean, if you're going to run a ground dragon type, definitely Flygon is the way to go. But Garchomp loses quite a bit of its bulk in the Ultra League. But it does hit decently hard. It's okay, but there are better options. Very spicy. And we've got Gengar. Gengar is a solid C-tier Pokemon at this point. Used to skirt the line between A and B tier back in the day, but there are just better Shadow Claw users at this point than Gengar. And of course, it's very squishy, but it hits like a truck and can definitely do some things. Has an excellent bait move with Shadow Punch. You've got good nuke move options between Poison, Sludge Bomb, and Shadow Ball. Gengar, solid C tier at this point. And we've got Giratina Altered. It is God tier, guys. The reason why is because whenever you are team building for the Open Ultra League, there is one Pokemon that comes to mind that you have to have an answer for, and it is Giratina Altered. Any Pokemon that can affect your team building strategy by that much is extremely good, and what makes Giratina God tier, along with its stat product, very spammy, very bulky. Giratina is still God tier for sure in the Ultra League, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And its origin form is a little bit underrated, guys. Giratina Origin's underrated. It does hit harder than the altered form, but it is quite a bit more squishy. You've got a decent bait move with Ominous Wind. And if you get that boost, forget about it. It is usually game over. And of course, you've got that nuke move with Stab and Shadow Ball. It's just a little squishier, but still very underrated as a ghost type / dragon type in the meta. And we've got Gliscor. Gliscor skirts the line between spice and anti-meta, but I'm going to say it's anti-meta just because you do counter all of the strong poison types, counter those fighters in the meta. You just really have to build around its weakness, double weakness of ice. But it can do some things. Has access to Night Slash as a nice bait move. especially in this meta with all the strong ghost types. And of course, you got a very good nuke move with Stab and Earthquake. Gliscor, solid anti-meta Pokemon, much like Crobat. And we've got Gourgeist. Gourgeist is a little spicy in the shadow of Trevenant. I think it will forever be in the shadow of Trevenant. I don't see that changing. And that's just because it does not run Shadow Claw. I don't think it can even learn Shadow Claw. But it's still a decent pick. Very bulky grass/ghost type. It is quite a bit more bulky than Trevenant. Doesn't hit quite as hard, but very much bulkier. Very spicy still at this point, just because of all the Talonflames in the meta and all the strong Shadow Claw users. Gourgeist, little spicy at this point. And we've got Granbull. Granbull's a solid B tier Charmer. Granbull has high utility. You can run Charm, of course, but you can also run Snarl for its energy gain, and you can really use it as an anti-ghost, anti-fighting type in the meta. But typically, you do run Charm on it, and that's what I would typically recommend, especially as a Shadow. That Charm damage with Shadow is amazing. Granbull's a solid B tier Charmer for sure in the Ultra League. And we've got Greedent. Greedent is an A tier, bulky, normal type tank in the Ultra League. The bulk on Greedent cannot be denied. Has excellent coverage on ghost types. Bullet Seed makes it extremely spammy. Can get to those body slams with Stab at a very fast rate. Greedent is an A tier, bulky tank / anti-ghost Pokemon in the meta for sure. And we've got Greninja. Greninja is super spicy, and that's because it's very glassy. Hits like a truck, but with all the strong fighters, all the Charmers in the meta, having such little bulk lends itself to being very spicy, but it does hit very hard, and you can definitely have some fun with Greninja, but it is very spicy. And we've got Gyarados. Gyarados is an A tier water type. Does very well if you want to counter dragons like Giratina with that Dragon Breath, Fast Move Pressure. Has excellent coverage on the ghost types with Crunch. And you've got an excellent low energy cost move, which is crucial with a Dragon Breath user. Gyarados can do very well up against the fighters, grass types. It's pretty squishy. On the squishier side, so definitely have to prioritize your shields for it, but definitely A tier for sure. And we've got Heracross. Heracross is a solid anti-meta Pokemon. Can do very well up against the steel types. You really have to plan for Talonflame. Although it can fight back against Talonflame, it's taking super effective damage, of course. So solid anti-meta Pokemon. On the glacier side, hits like a truck. I think Escavalier is the better way to go. If you had your choice of the two, they do very similar things. Solid anti-meta though, anti-meta, I'm going to say. I'll leave it there. Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is very underrated, especially now with its new signature move of Sacred Fire. Just made Ho-Oh that much better. Does lose a bit of its bulk coming down to the Ultra League, 2500 CP. Can definitely do some things. Talonflame's still the better option, better way to go. But Ho-Oh still very much underrated. It can definitely do some things in the Ultra League. And we've got Jellicent, one of the better ghost types in the meta. Its unique typing of Water Ghost makes it very strong in the Ultra League. It does lose to the Shadow Claw users, but my goodness, can it counter the water types like Walrein and Swampert? It can do very well up against Empoleon. Other psychic types like Deoxys. It can hold its own against Cresselia with its bulk. It does take super effective from the Legacy Grass Knot, but it can definitely do some things. It has excellent bait potential with Bubble Beam. And you can really set up that hard-hitting Shadow Ball with Stab. Jellicent, A tier for sure. And we've got Kingdra. Kingdra's solid anti-meta in the Ultra League meta. Anti-meta in the Ultra League meta for sure. And that is because it is the ultimate answer to Talonflame with that Water Dragon typing It is double resisting fire type damage. And with its dragon typing, only takes neutral from what would normally be super effective electric or grass type damage. Has a very good bait move with Octazooka with stab, and of course Outrage. Kingdra, very solid anti-meta Pokemon in the open Ultra League. And Como-O, I'm going to say at this point, just because it's fresh and new, underrated, not a lot of people know about it. Very rare Pokemon, very hard to obtain, but it has a unique typing of dragon and fighting. You can do very well up against those steel types. You just really have to have some charm coverage on your team as a double weak to charm. But it can do some things for sure. Very underrated in the Ultra League. It is very good. And we've got Lapras. Lapras at this point, solid B tier water/ice type in the Ultra League. It is now in the shadow, of course, of Walrein. Was solid A tier prior, but has fallen off a little bit. It's a little slower than Walrein, but it has an excellent early activation charge move with Surf. You can do very well up against strong fire types like Talonflame. And you can really threaten the ice types with your fast move pressure and the legacy move of Ice Beam. Solid B tier for Lapras. And we've got Licky Licky. Licky Licky is very underrated. Very strong normal type that runs Lick. One of those Lick Body Slam users. Very strong anti-ghost Pokemon, as it does have access to Shadow Ball. You could also run Earthquake as well to really punish the steel types. You just really definitely need to have Body Slam, which is a legacy move, requires an elite charge TM. Licky though, very underrated, very strong normal type. And we've got Lugia. Lugia underrated as well. Still very much bulky in the Ultra League, and with Dragon Tail can really punish the opposing dragon types. Bulky enough to really hang in there with a type disadvantage up against Ghost and Dark types. Lugia is amazing in the Open Ultra League and very underrated for sure. And we've got Luxray. Luxray is spice. I'm so disappointed to have to put it here, but it's just too squishy. But it can do some things. It's definitely spice for sure. But of course it has its Community Day move of Psychic Fangs. And it does have access to Crunch to really punish the strong ghost types in this meta. It's just very squishy, which makes it on the spicier side for sure. And we've got Machamp or Shadow Machamp. At this point, it's a C tier fighter in the Ultra League, in the Open Ultra League. It does have solid wins up against Talonflame, but it is very limited in what it can do. There are just so many strong ghost types in the meta, which is what holds it back. It doesn't have a lot of coverage for ghost types. I mean, you find yourself up against the Giratina, and my goodness, can you feel helpless, right, guys? So C tier at this point. There are better fighting / pseudo fighting type options, but still very strong, especially as a shadow. And we've got Magnezone. Magnezone is spicy for sure, much like Electivire. It's spice. It's very limited in what it can do. It'll hit like a truck. It can do some things in in-game scenarios, but still very spicy. Same goes for Malamar. Malamar super spicy, has an awkward typing, but has a decent charge move pool. Its typing is just what really holds it back, as it is a dark psychic. And we've got Mamoswine, also spicy because it is very squishy. But that Powder Snow Avalanche combination can't be denied. It's just very squishy. And there are a lot of strong water types in this meta. And we've got Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is God tier for sure. Probably one of the best 2 dark types in this meta. And what sets it apart is because with its flying subtyping, it makes taking fighting type damage neutral, which really sets it apart. Every bit as bulky as Umbreon, but it does have that subtyping, which allows it to only take neutral damage from fighting, while also being able to hit back for super effective. With Aerial Ace, although a terrible move, it can still hit for super effective, and it can punish the strong ghost types with its dark type damage. Mandibuzz is God tier for sure. And we've got Meganium. Meganium, very underrated. It is an XL, but my goodness, Meganium as an XL is a force to be reckoned with in the Ultra League. Very much underrated. It could really hang in there up against Pokemon that it has a type disadvantage up against, like Giratina. It's just Frenzy Plant is so busted that you just keep spamming those Frenzy Plants and it really starts to add up. Meganium as an XL, very underrated for sure. Has an excellent coverage move with Earthquake as well. And we've got Melmetal. Melmetal's a solid B tier. Steel type. Very strong anti-flyer in the meta. Anti-ice type. Does very well up against the ice types like Walrein. Very well up against flyers like Talonflame, which you wouldn't think because it is a steel type, but it actually beats Talonflame because it does outpace and provides excellent coverage on the Charmers as well. Melmetal, very good, very strong, very accessible as well. Solid B tier for sure. And Metagross is spicy, I'm afraid. Although it dominates in the Master Premier Classic, it is pure spice in the Ultra League. That's just because it is quite a bit more squishy. And there are so many strong Dark and Ghost types. Metagross, very spicy for the Ultra League. And Armored Mewtwo, at this point, with all of the newcomers to Pokemon Go Battle League, I'm going to say is underrated at this point. Back in the very beginning of Ultra League, Armored Mewtwo was God tier / A tier, but it has fallen off just because it's not quite as accessible for the newcomers, and a lot of the newcomers aren't aware of how strong Armored Mewtwo can be. It is very bulky, has the Legacy Psy Strike, and it has excellent coverage on flyers if you want to go Rock Slide, or Steel types if you want to go Dynamic Punch. Armored Mewtwo, very underrated, still very strong in the Ultra League for sure. And we've got Melodic. Melodic, solid anti-meta Pokemon. Can run Dragon Tail. You can also run Waterfall, although I do recommend Dragon Tail. With its bulk, it's able to really hang in there and deal out super effective fast move pressure against opposing dragons. And you get to those surfs pretty fast with Stab. Has good nuke move potential between Blizzard or Hyper Beam. Solid anti-meta Pokemon as you can counter strong water types like Jellicent, like Lapras, like Swampert. Yeah, super solid anti-meta Pokemon in the Ultra League. And we've got Alolan Muck is an A tier Dark / Poison type. Excellent coverage on Psychic types like Cresselia, like Defense Deoxys. Can do very well against strong Charmers in the meta as well. Alolan Muck is amazing. Solid A tier Dark / Poison type for sure. Definitely benefited from the Poison move update with Poison Jab. And we've got its cousin, Kanto Muck. Kanto Muck in the Open Ultra League is anti-meta, and that's because you can really counter the flyers like Talonflame with Thunder Punch, while also being able to counter the strong ghost types with the potential of Dark Pulse as its charge move. And of course, you dominate the fighters and the fairy types with your poison typing. Kanto Muck, strong anti-meta pick for sure in the Ultra League. And we've got Nidoqueen is an A tier poison type in the meta. What more needs to be said about Nidoqueen? It is the premier poison jabber in the Ultra League. That poison jab, poison fang combination is absolutely lethal. There are just a lot of strong ghost types in this meta, but Nidoqueen still shines and is a very, very strong A tier poison type for sure. And we've got Alolan Ninetales, God tier, the best charmer in the league. You can also run it as an Ice-type attacker with Powder Snow, but these days with all the Walreins, Charm is definitely the way to go. And what makes Alolan Ninetales a God tier charmer in this league is its access to one of the earliest activating charge moves in Weather Ball. Even with the nerf, it is still amazing as an XL, very bulky. God tier fairy type for sure, the best charmer in the meta for sure. And we've got Noctowl. Noctowl, very underrated. Maxes out right around 2,400, but as with similar flyers like Altaria, Coming in below 2500 CP doesn't seem to affect Noctowl very much. It is very bulky, provides excellent coverage against fighters with that fast move pressure, and just makes for a very strong anti-ghost Pokemon in this meta. Of course, with its normal typing, but also it was given Shadow Ball not too long ago, which was a game changer for Noctowl. Noctowl, very underrated anti-ghost Pokemon / anti-fighter. And we've got Obstagoon. Obstagoon is A tier for sure. The premier pseudo fighter in the Ultra League. It cannot be denied. It is the ultimate answer to all of the strong ghost types in this meta. Nothing makes you feel more helpless as a ghost type player than coming up against an Obstagoon. You guys all know Obstagoon is an amazing pseudo fighter, has excellent coverage against the steel types as well. Obstagoon, A tier for sure. And we've got Palkia. Palkia is pure spice, guys. It belongs in the Master League. It loses quite a bit of bulk coming down to the Ultra League. But it can do some things. That Dragon Tail, a fast move pressure, does have Stab. Has an excellent bait move with Aqua Tail with Stab as well. It can do some things, but it is very spicy. And we've got Berserker. Berserker is very underrated. You definitely want to run it as an XL for sure. But if you have the resources for Berserker, you can do some things for sure. Has very underrated. It's also could go in the anti-meta category as well, as it does counter the strong ghost types with that Shadow Claw fast move pressure and the access to foul play, which can really punish the ghost types. You have excellent coverage up against opposing steel types and dark types as well with close combat. Berserker, very underrated Pokemon, and can also definitely go in the anti-meta category as well. Pidgeot, oh man, Pidgeot, I'm going to say, it's hard to say, but it's a C tier flying type. They did have to nerf Feather Dance, which hurt Pidgeot quite a bit, but it can still do some things in the Ultra League. You just got to have some strong coverage on the steel types. Much like Noctowl, it maxes out at 2400, but it can still do some things. Very strong anti-fighter / anti-ghost type. The nerf to Feather Dance really bumped it down, though. It's solid C tier for sure. And we've got Piloswine. Piloswine is actually very underrated, guys. As an XL, Piloswine is quite a bit more bulky than Mamoswine and has access to the same move pool. You just get that added bulk with it, which makes it very strong. You got to cover the water types, but it can definitely do some things up against the flyers and the dragons like Giratina. Piloswine, very underrated XL option in the Ultra League. And we've got Politoed is a solid B tier water type in the meta. It was A type, but A tier, but the nerf to Weather Ball did hurt it a little bit. It is very bulky and very spammy. You can run the Legacy Earthquake or the recommended Blizzard, which you don't need an Elite TM for. But yeah, very bulky, spammy water type, solid B tier in terms of water types in the Ultra League for sure. And you've got its evolutionary cousin, Poliwrath. Very strong anti-meta Pokemon. You've got a great bait move and coverage move and Ice Punch, while also being able to punish the fire types with Scald. You can punish the steel types with Dynamic Punch. Do some heavy damage or some nice super effective damage to the flyers and the dragons with Ice Punch. Poliwrath, very strong anti-meta Pokemon for sure. And we've got Regice. Regice is a little bit on the spicier side, but it's a very strong spice pick. It's spicy because we've got Talonflame. That is a thing. We have all the strong fighters as well. Ice type isn't a strong typing to begin with, but it can definitely do some things. Anything with access to lock-on and strong nuke moves can definitely do some things. All of the Regis have their place, but this is the weakest of the three for sure. Pretty spicy at this point. And speaking of the Reggies, we've got Regirock, very underrated, very strong answer to all the Talonflames running around. And with Lock On and Stone Edge with Stab, it can get to those very fast and hit most things for neutral damage. And has excellent coverage on steel types between the now Legacy Earthquake or Focus Blast. You could really go either way with it. It's a very strong underrated option in my opinion. And we've got Registeel. Registeel is god tier for sure. It was OP to begin with, but my goodness, them giving it Zap Cannon just put it on a whole nother level, guys. Very bulky, can really hang in there and terrorize your existence, and that Zap Cannon damage with the debuff just makes it so overpowered. Registeel is god tier for sure in the Ultra League. And we've got Rhyperior. That is super spicy. Its typing does not do it any favors. We have a lot of strong ice types in this meta, a lot of strong fighters. It can do some things, though. It definitely performs well up against Talonflame, but that's really about it. Very spicy for sure for the Ultra League. Same goes for Roserade. Roserade also pretty spicy because it is very squishy. It does have Weather Ball, but there are better grass type options than Roserade. Better poison type options as well. It's on the spicier side for sure. And Samurott is actually underrated, guys. Samurott has access to bug type moves. It can run Fury Cutter and it can run Mega Horn as a charge attack, which gives it some nice coverage because there are a lot of strong dark types in this meta. And of course, it does have Hydro Cannon, which can hit most things for either super effective or heavy neutral damage. And it has about average bulk, I would say. Samurott, very underrated for sure in the Ultra League. And we've got Sceptile. Sceptile's on the spicier side. Has an amazing move pool. You've got Dragon Claw. Of course, Leaf Blade is a must. But you've also got access to Earthquake as well. Very spammy with the Bullet Seed, but it is a mono grass type, which kind of hurts it up against the strong ice and fire types in the meta. So pretty spicy, but can do some things. And we've got Scrafty. Scrafty is god tier for sure. Scrafty is the best fighter in the meta. Has excellent coverage on the steel types like Registeel, ice types, ghost types. Scrafty is amazing. You just really have to address the charm weakness, and indirectly the poison. Doesn't do very well up against poison types, of course, but Scrafty is god tier for sure in the Ultra League. And we've got Serperior, very underrated. I think it's very similar to Meganium, just does not have as good a coverage move as Meganium does. Meganium's definitely the better option in terms of investing in a grass type XL. But if you don't have the resources for Meganium, Serperior is definitely another strong option. These two do very much similar things. It's just Meganium does them a little bit better, but Serperior, very underrated for sure. And Shiftry, strong anti-meta. As an XL in the Ultra League, Shiftry is anti-meta because it covers the strong ghost types, covers all the strong water types in the meta, can do very well up against all the strong psychic types in the meta as well. Shiftry, very strong anti-meta Pokemon for the Ultra League. And the same goes for Surfetch'd, guys. Another strong anti-meta Pokemon. Another one of those with an amazing move pool in terms of charge moves. Of course, you run counter as the fast move. Definitely want to have Leaf Blade, but as for your second move, my goodness, do you have options? You can go Night Slash, Close Combat, Brave Bird, which makes Surfetch'd an excellent anti-meta option in the Ultra League. And we've got Skarmory. Skarmory, very underrated. Comes in quite low at 2100. Much like Altaria, though, it doesn't seem to affect Skarmory very much. Still very bulky, has a great stat product as an XL, and provides amazing poison and charm type coverage. You can really punish the fighters in this meta as well. Skarmory, very underrated XL option in the Ultra League. And we've got Skuntank. Skuntank is on the spicier side. They're just better poison and dark types to go with. And it's very pricey. It's an expensive XL build. And there are just better options in Alolan Muck, which is far more accessible, far cheaper to build. And Drapion, similar cost in terms of build, but can do the job a little better. So Skuntank on the spicier side. And we've got Snorlax. Snorlax is, oh man, C tier at this point. Used to be the premier lick user, but or normal type. But it is a little bit limited as your only punishing attack for ghost types is the fast mid pressure, whereas Greedent can actually hit them for super effective damage with Crunch. So Greedent, definitely the better option at this point. I would even venture to say that Licky Licky is a better option. But if you don't have those options, Snorlax is a very strong anti-ghost type in the meta. Still very bulky, a very solid backbone to any team. It's just on the C tier at this point. And Steelix. Steelix is very underrated. Very solid XL investment. There are better steel type investments in terms of XLs. And Registeel and Stunfisk. Those are the two steel types in terms of XLs to invest in before you dive into Steelix. But Steelix does run Dragon Tail, has access to Crunch to punish the ghost types. And you've got excellent coverage with Earthquake as well. Yeah, Steelix, very bulky, very underrated XL steel type for sure. And we've got Galarian Stunfisk. It is God tier, guys, even in the Ultra League. Just as in the Great League, where it is also God tier, is God tier in the Ultra League as well. Performs best as a Best Buddy boosted XL, but even if you don't have that Best Buddy boost, it is still amazing. Galarian Stunfisk is God tier in the Ultra League for sure. And we've got Suicune. That is spicy. Not a whole lot to say about it. Super spicy. Had some interesting play in the early days, but it has fallen way off. At this point, it is very spicy. They're just better options for sure. And we've got Swampert, guys. Swampert is God tier. Swampert is God tier for sure because it keeps Nidoqueen in check, keeps Registeel in check, keeps Stunfisk in check, can do very well up against the Charmers with its charge move pressure. Swampert is God tier for sure. One of the best water/ground types to utilize. Yeah, God tier for Swampert for sure. And we've got Sylveon. Sylveon is a solid A tier charmer, right behind Alola Ninetales. Its Community Day move was a massive upgrade for it. Now has access to an early activation charge move, which any charmer with a low energy cost charge attack makes for a very strong charmer. And Sylveon has very good bulk, very good A tier charmer. Second best charmer, right behind Alola Ninetales for sure. And Talonflame, holy smokes, that is God tier if I've ever seen it. Nothing needs to be said about Talonflame. You guys know how overpowered it is. It can be almost unfair at times how overpowered it is. Talonflame is God tier for sure. And we've got Tangrowth. Tangrowth is on the underrated side of things, guys. Has an excellent coverage move and Rock Slide. You can really fight back up against those fire and ice types with Tangrowth, and it has very good bulk. Very underrated grass type for sure. And we've got Togekiss. Togekiss is a solid B tier charmer in the meta at this point. Does even better up against fighters, as you do have an added layer of resistance with that flying typing. Togekiss, B tier for sure. Used to be solid A tier, but it has fallen off. There are better options in terms of charmers at this point, but still very strong. Solid B tier charmer. And we've got Toxicroak. Toxicroak is a solid anti-meta Pokemon. It performs best as an XL in the Open Ultra League. Can do very well against opposing poison types. like Drapion, like Nidoqueen, and can do very well up against opposing fighters like Scrafty and pseudo fighters like Obstagoon. Toxicroak still very squishy even as an XL, but if you can build the right team around it and prioritize your shields, Toxicroak can make for a very strong anti-meta Pokemon. And we've got Trevenant. Trevenant is absolutely god tier, guys. Although many of its wins are very much bait dependent, Trevenant's damage output and move pool cannot be denied. That is what makes Trevenant god tier. Along with Giratina Altered, it is the best ghost type in the meta for sure. Trevenant, god tier in the Ultra League. And Typhlosion, I'm going to say, is actually underrated. One of the better fire types that you could use, right behind Talonflame. Very underrated. You can even run Shadow Claw to really punish the ghost types as well. Typhlosion, very underrated fire type. And we've got Tyranitar. That is pure spice, guys. The best rock type that you can use is, I think, Regirock. Anything outside of Regirock in terms of rock types is just going to be on the spicy side. Rock, it's just a hard typing, guys. It's just not very good with how the current meta is. But it can do some things. It does run Smackdown. It is a dark type. You can do some things up against Talonflame and the ghost types for sure. And you can do some things up against the psychic types. It's a decent spice pick, but still spice nonetheless. And we've got Umbreon. Umbreon is a strong A-tier dark type. Its immense bulk makes it one of the strongest tanks that you can run on your team. Very tanky, very spammy. Umbreon is an amazing A-tier Pokemon in the Ultra League. And we've got Venusaur. Venusaur, man, I'm going to say C tier in the Open Ultra League, unfortunately. With Trevenant, you got Giratina, you got other flyers and steel types. Venusaur makes for a very strong anti-Swampert, anti-fighting type option, but that's really what it's limited in that sense. But still, much like Charizard, used to be much more relevant, but it does beat Cresselia, so it does have that going for it. But yeah, Venusaur, solid C tier, I'm going to say, at this point in the current meta. And we've got Walrein. Walrein is god tier for sure. Having that community day, that was a complete game changer for Walrein. Walrein is amazing, guys, with its bulk and spamminess. God tier for sure. And Zacian is very spicy. It belongs in the Master League, enough said. Very spicy for the Ultra League. Same goes for Zangoose. Berserker just does what Zangoose does, a little bit better. But Zangoose can make for a very spicy and strong anti-ghost type option. It's just very squishy, which makes it spicy. And last but not least, we got Zarude. Zarude is underrated for sure, guys. Similar to a Shiftry, serves a similar purpose, and very underrated. I think those of you who came out on the wrong end in terms of IVs, it's not worth building for the Master League. For those of you who don't have the ideal IVs, consider Ultra League because it is very underrated. Can do very well up against strong water types and strong ghost types as well. Zarude, underrated for sure in the Ultra League. And that about wraps it up, guys. I had a blast making this list. And if you enjoyed this tier list for the Ultra League, do give the video a like. Really let YouTube know that you like the content. Liking the videos on this channel is truly the best way to really help the channel grow. But yeah, guys, that is my ultimate tier list for the Ultra League. I had a blast making it. I hope you all enjoyed. As always, I thank you for watching and keep up the grind. Thank you, guys.